Hello, you six-string murderers. I'm kinda inappropriate, and this is the first of several tutorials on the Boss SY300. So, I'm recording this directly plugged into my Steinberg audio interface. I'm running the SY300 through the effect loop of my Line 6 pod HD500X. Here it is. With just a pre-section of an amp on it. Should be a 9065 Fender Twin, if I'm correct, and nothing else, no reverb and no effects, so you can hear the real sound of the pedal. I am playing my Fender Stratocaster with regular pickups on it, and that's it. First thing first, whatever you want to do with this pedal, I strongly suggest the download of the Tone Studio software. The SY300 is a fairly complex pedal, and you want to be able to work on your sound the easy way, since the display on the pedal itself is quite small and navigating the menu can be tricky and annoying. And we all know guitar players can get confused by something with more than 3 knobs, so let's not make this harder than already is. To obtain a split sound or a layer sound, head to the layer section of the menu, the oscillator menu. Set the interval you want for every oscillator and you're pretty much done. Now, a couple of things here. The lower and upper fade parameters here have a minimums of 1 and not 0. This will result in a sort of gray area between the two notes that define the end of the first sound and the start of the other one. Like in this case, I have the first two oscillators, as you can see here in the part of the screen where you can check the path of the sound. I have the two first oscillator that will define the bass sound of this particular set I have here. And they are set to be triggered from A0 to F sharp 3. And then I have the other sound that is kind of the brighter and singing sound. And it is set to be triggered from G3 to E6. So if you don't know what I'm talking about here, you might gonna find useful to know that C3 is the C note that you can find on your 3rd fret A string on a regular tuned 6-string guitar, and that will gives you the coordinates to understand what these parameters are referring to. The second thing I want to point to is that the two sounds will have an influence on each other. I'm not an engineer by any means, but I think that this is due to the very nature of the guitar. Hitting a key on a keyboard doesn't produce any sound by itself. I mean, if you are playing a synthesizer, instead it sends an information to the machine. The guitar already have a complex sound with several harmonics, and the SY300 must decrypt it and translate it into information for the oscillator to be triggered. And since this baby here is able to track chords coming from a regular pickup, which is witchcraft to me, it obviously have issues isolating audio harmonics. So when you are crafting your sound, working on the single oscillators like this, you can deactivate here the first oscillator and working on the other two, or maybe you want to work on one at a time. Just keep in mind that some aspect of the different sounds will be hearable even with a split configuration. So you obviously need to work on a single oscillator at a time at first, but just keep in mind that in the end you have to fine-tune everything at the same time. So that was it. I hope you find this video useful. I will make more videos on this pedal, probably on automations, MIDI control, and specific sound I create. But if you want me to run the basics, or if you have a specific question, just tell me in the comments. Subscribe, like, use foul language, and have fun. Cheers!